All right, men, this week we are dialing in on what it means to do the work. You know, everybody wants to talk about doing the work, and it's a common hashtag of do the work, but nobody talks about what doing the work actually means in any capacity. They're just like, do the work, and you're like, cool, man, I'm willing to do the work, but what the fuck does the work mean? And for guys, it's already hard enough to understand where to go to start, quote unquote, doing the work and developing yourself or expanding yourself, opening new horizons. It's hard enough for us to find that. One, there's a lot of frauds out there. Two, there's a lot of men that we don't respect, because at the end of the day, if we don't respect somebody, then we're not going to listen to their message. We're not going to absorb it. We don't care about it. And that makes it really difficult, the added level of difficulty for men to really start to even do the work. I recognize this because that was me as well. One of the hardest pieces when I was getting started was there wasn't very many men. Actually, there was pretty much no men that were in the men's development space that had a similar background that I did, that knew what it was like to do that. But then we're also teaching development in a way that wasn't stuck in a past toxic mindset. And so really, when we talk about doing the work, there are a few components that what we really mean, right? There's a few components to that. And then how to start that is another piece to this. So we're going to go over a couple of these here for guys, just so you get really the aspect of what people are talking about when they say do the work. You can cut through the bullshit hashtag line and be like, okay, yeah, am I really doing the things that are building me? So the first thing is, how do we identify anything that is going to help us, quote unquote, do the work or start us on the right path or get us the entry level position within development that can really help us with our lives? Well, the first thing is you have to identify a mentor, a guide, a leader, a structure, a process that really resonates with you, or else you're going to bail out of it. If somebody hands you like, hey, do this course, it was really great for me. Cool, great for you. Go fuck yourself. It may not work for me. Probably if I didn't really bite on it right off you offering it to me or showing it to me, it's probably not going to work for me. The reason being, I'm not in it. Like, it's not in my mind. Like, it's not part of my mindset or processes or the way I think, and it's not part of my soul. So then I might buy it, right? And this is where guys find themselves wasting money. They don't see results because they weren't the ones that found this. They weren't the ones that resonated with this. Somebody else did. So then they lose out on their money. They lose out on growth. And yeah, maybe if they're guys who see silver linings, they would be like, yeah, there's a couple good pieces I pulled out of there. It wasn't a total waste. But majority of guys are still, especially early on, are very stuck in the negativity. So then they write it off. Hey, I didn't learn anything. I wasted money. I'm not doing this development shit. This is all a crock of bullshit. Dude's a fraud, whatever. Like, guys go through this. And so the first piece is, if you are not the person who found this, or you are not the person who dove into it, said and actually researched it, learned about it, and was like, yeah, I really feel called to doing this, then you're probably not going to buy into the message. So don't let people force you just because maybe they've been in the game a little longer. Don't let people force you just because maybe it resonated with them. Make sure that you're siphoning through all of this and distilling it down to your core principles of where you are right now, because where you're going to be in 6 months after doing development is going to be very different, but where you are right now, so that you can actually resonate with the message, respect it, and then grab onto that and actually learn from it. Your brain will learn from it when you actually respect it, right? So that's the first piece to this. You got to do that, guys. Until you do that, you're going to continue spinning your wheels. And while I'm really proud of you, if you're even thinking about it, you're not going to see the results that you desire, because at the end of the day, it's just not going to be there for you, because you're not really soul connected to it, heart connected to it. And so your brain's not going to want to absorb it or learn it. All right. That's the first piece. The second piece is being open to receiving information in a different way or new information. So you got to be open to learning again, right? You're never done learning. And for all you guys out there that think that just because you're older or you're at a certain age, like learning's done, which many of us do believe that, we're partly because society expects us to believe that, partly because society's like, hey, you have to know everything at a certain age, and if you don't, you're emasculated, you can't ask questions, you can't ask for support, all that stuff. So then that bleeds into us, and then we get older and we don't want to buy into anything because of the fact that we're like, oh, I'm supposed to know it, I can't ask a question, I can't think that that's cool and that's interesting, because now that's going to admit that I didn't know something, so now I got to learn from somebody else, and that's not what you do as a man. So be open, right? Seems very simple. Most of you guys are not this way. You're not open to receiving. You're not open to receiving a new message. You're not open to receiving new information. You're not open to questioning old perceptions. So once you find somebody, the second piece to that is kind of just like politics. You're not always going to resonate with every single thing that person says. You may like a lot of it or a majority of it, but you're not going to resonate with everything. That being said, make sure that you are open to receiving new information or looking at your own perspectives based off of new information and evaluating them with who you are and where you want to go. If you are able to do that, you become the perpetual learner, and in that you can actually find a lot of development and experience just in and of itself. So make sure that you're open to learning, to receiving, to questioning yourself. And those are the two big pieces to start off, right? Like, this is where guys struggle the most. They don't know where to start. Now, what do we mean when you get somebody that says, do the work, right? Many of us say that. I know I do. I'm not a huge fan of it. I will tell you guys that. I'm not a huge fan of it, just simply because the fact that it has been so overused and people don't talk about what the fuck it is. And then when they say it, you're like, bro, did you do the fucking work? Like, you're just saying shit, but did you actually do the fucking work? Because that's the real question with a lot of these coaches, is that they are telling you to do the work and they didn't actually do the work. They may have read something here, or they're regurgitating information there, but did they apply the work? Did they do the processes that they're pitching to you to get you through whatever it is you're going through right now in life? That's the question. Because experience is one thing, but creating a roadmap through the experience of what you've learned based upon that experience and integrating intellectual information like what you've learned from books, that is a whole different piece. If your coach isn't doing that, it's very hard to do the work when someone who hasn't done the work is telling you to do the work. So when we talk about this, the first thing is, what are the experiences you've put yourself in that are allowing you to develop and grow and progress? That's the first thing, and evolve. That's the first thing. What are the experiences? Have you invested in yourself? Have you invested in a program potentially and given it a shot at somebody who you do value? Have you entered into coaching if you have gotten to that point where you feel like you need a coach, and then invested in that and actually done that weekly or whatever it is work they have you going through? Have you been to, if it's something to do psychologically, a therapist? If it's something to do emotionally, any type of emotional course, EQ course? Like, what have you done that has put you in a position to say that I've actually taken action on these things and done my best to continue to improve all the time and challenged myself? Now, that is something that you get the opportunity to ask yourself. That's the first piece. What have you done? Are you putting yourself in silent meditative retreats? Are you doing things that are checking your mindset and old perceptions? Are you putting yourself in some form of experience that allows you to gain knowledge in new ways and actually do an experiential, put you in an experiential environment? That's part of what the work is. And so for many people, they want to say, did you do the work? Or do the work. And you're like, well, bro, did you do anything? Did you go to an experience? Have you challenged yourself? Have you done what you're telling me to do? Have you created the processes? Have you read the books? That's the questions that we have to ask. The other piece is, have you read, right? So now we go from experience to intellectual. Have you learned about the fundamental practices? Are you researching them? That is part of the work. What are the fundamental pieces to whatever it is you're trying to improve in your life, whether it's your mindset, whether it's your physicality, whether it's your spirit? Are you exploring new ways of doing that by reading some of the content that's been out there by some of the leaders in the field? And even if you read it, it doesn't necessarily mean it's correct. Understanding something, even from multiple different angles, doesn't mean that you have to believe all of it is true or there's one way to do it. But what it does lend you is it lends you tidbits of information in which you can compile to make into your own message, the ones that resonate with you, the ones that work for you, the ones you believe are going to work for other people. That's how we do it. You know, somebody told me once, I've heard this many times actually, everything has already been said. Everything has already been written. All we are doing is we're taking and compiling different information from all these people and then creating a message that's written in a different way. Wes Watson said that. He said it the other day on our phone call. I will give him credit for that. Wes, my coach, was on a call with us and he said this, but it's very true. We're all plucking information from people who've come before us or currently present in the world and are experts in the field. We're taking that and then creating a message in which we're writing it very differently, or we see it from a different perspective, but it's the same type of verbiage. It's the same process or pathway. And then on top of that, we add a layer of our experience, which is why experience is very important, because then the message that we're following or the message that we're learning is that of which is compiled of both the intellect and the experience. So that's part of the work. Are you actually putting yourself in a position to read this information and utilize it as the message? And so for all of you guys out there, if someone's telling you to do the work, part of what they mean is saying, what are you reading to help you develop that side, whatever it is. Like I said, if it's you're trying to get more, in better fitness, then are you reading articles on fitness? Are you reading articles on how muscle groups operate in conjunction with one another, or the styles of lifting, right? Compound lifting and isolated lifting and all this stuff, right? So different things. And if you're putting that into practice, then that is part of the doing the work piece. And the last is, are you allowing yourself to write about this stuff, right? So majority of us, let's just cut through it right now. What you're here for on this and what you potentially listen to my podcast for, what you're looking for in life is development of the mindset. Well, the mindset needs to have something written down. We can't just keep all the information here. One of the reasons why our brains are so cool, but yet so chaotic is because the fact that until we learn how to master our minds, most of the information is actually all up there. Like everything is in our brains. It's just so discombobulated. It's not stored anywhere. That's why mentalists are incredible people, because they've learned to create this memory palace in which they can go, they know exactly what room, what drawer, what closet, everything is in. So that way they can go pluck it out when they need that information. They can recall it specifically. They know where it's at. But what most of our brains looks like is a whirlwind, a tornado of all the memories and things we've said and done and all this shit. And we don't know where to pluck it out from, right? And so that is where writing things down becomes incredibly powerful for the person who's coming off on the basic level, right? We're getting into this. It's even for advanced. I do this. Everybody else does this. Is that we want to write this stuff down. Now, whether that's journaling, whether it's writing your own content, maybe it's poems, maybe it's, blogs, whatever you feel like doing, like make that an outlet for this information. If you're able to do that, then we can start to see, okay, now I'm really doing the work. I'm applying my thoughts, my perceptions, and I'm able to question them. I'm able to put them out there and say, hey, what is this? What does it mean? Why do I have that? Actually, that's really interesting. I've never heard somebody write it down that way. When we write our thoughts, especially in the moments of clarity and creativity, we end up developing something that's incredibly powerful that we didn't know sometimes was even within us. But that's part of the work. The work is, are you putting that stuff down? Are you questioning it? Is it part of what you're doing on your regular basis on top of the other pieces or tools that you're utilizing? That is a big question. So that's really what it is, guys. Find somebody you resonate with first. Get part of the information that they're putting out there. Absorb that. Make sure that you're being willing to learn, right? And then just making sure that you are putting yourself in experiences, reading the information from the experts in the field, and writing down your own perspectives of things and questioning that. If you can put those 5 practices, and let's think of them as 2 different categories, right? One category is the people that you are using as guides, right? That, and then doing the work, that's the 2 pieces. All right, guys, I hope this provides some clarity for you so that when next time you hear do the work, you're like, bro, I know what you mean. You may not even know what you mean, but I know what you mean, because now I know, like, am I really doing the work? That's the question. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see y'all next week.